Well, it's still raining. You see the water in there now? So the French drain is actually working. Hey, welcome back to Page DIY. This is the second video in my series of 4 on water remediation, how to keep water out of your house, and how to move the water to where it belongs. Everything I'm going to talk about today, I learned from Chuck at Apple Drains. If you've got a water issue, go spend a couple hours watching this dude's videos. He's got hundreds of videos where he's solved water problems by the use of French drains and other methods of channeling water away from the house. I highly recommend you check out his videos. This man knows what he's talking about. He's done it hundreds of times, been doing it for 30 years. The man knows his stuff. So water remediation basics goes like this. Get the water away from your house. 90% of this stuff can be fixed, probably more, by dealing with the water issue from outside the house. Now there's some things you can do on the inside as well, and I'll cover that in video number 3. But your main focus needs to be getting the water away from the outside of the house. In the last video you saw the new gutter drains that I put in to move the water away from the house and out to the street. Next on the list is doing some French drains. We've got water standing in parts of our yard, and that's what a French drain is used for. Standing water that needs to be moved away. It's for groundwater. Let me show you how this works. So there's the ground. You go in and you dig a trench to collect the rainwater that's standing, and you put gravel in the bottom of the trench, and then you insert a piece of corrugated pipe, and this layer of gravel is going to give water an easy access to get into this trench. The hydraulic pressure of groundwater is going to push it to the path of least resistance. If it's got nowhere to go, then it just stands there. But in this case, we're going to offer it a solution. You'll notice that the drain is higher here on this end than on this end. You want to grade your trench at an angle. It doesn't have to be much drop, but there has to be some drop to move the water away to a collection point, down to the street. Storm drains are where this kind of water needs to go. What happens is we have groundwater. When the ground gets wet and the ground can't shed this water off through normal means, evaporation, absorbed into the ground, whatever, then we need to move it. Because what happens when it rains and rains and rains and rains, the water comes down and this water level continues to rise. Now when it gets up to the gravel, the second part of a French drain, a piece of pipe with holes in it, corrugated PE, polyethylene pipe. In the video I struggle with trying to figure out what it's made of. I looked it up. It's not PVC, it's not ABS, even though it's black. It's PE, polyethylene. And this pipe has holes in it. So it comes up, water comes up through the gravel and into the holes on the bottom of this pipe. This pipe will be marked. And you want to make sure that the marking, a green or a blue line, is facing up. And that'll put the holes in this corrugated pipe that are designed to collect this groundwater on the bottom of the trench on that bed of gravel. It's starting to look pretty complicated, but I assure you it's not. So after you put the gravel in, you put the pipe in, you can cover the trench back up. You want some gravel around the sides of the pipe, because the pipe, most of the ones I've found, had holes on the sides as well. Now you might say, how does it work if it's got holes in the pipe? We're working on this hydraulic pressure, the groundwater coming up into this thing. It wants to take the path of least resistance, and we're going to offer it that in this nice trench, through the gravel, into the pipe, and from there out to wherever you're going to drain it. But that is the basics of a French drain. Let me recap. Dig a trench that's graded off to the direction you want to run the water. Groundwater comes up into it. on the bed of gravel into the corrugated pipe and runs away. It's all gravity fed. Now, you can actually run it into a sump, which is basically a big bucket, a collection system, and you can put a pump in here to pump the water up and out. If you don't have the slope, you got to have some slope for this gravity fed drainage bed to work, but once it gets here to a low spot, you can pump it wherever it needs to go. That is a French drain. You'll see it in the video. My drainage system looks like this. Oh, here's the house, here's the storage shed you'll see in the video, and here's where we ran our downspouts from and hooked them to this piece of pipe. Now this is just 4-inch PVC as I described in the video, and it runs out here to the street. And we had really bad water here, and we had really bad water here that stood in the yard after we get lots and lots of rain. So my French drain system starts out here and goes to here and turns down, connects to this pipe, but then I added another French drain here to catch the water. I added a second here and a third here. Actually, it's four. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pieces of French drain that are designed to take the water out of these low-lying areas that stayed wet all the time. I call these the chevrons. Kind of looks like it, anyway. So this is the system. And you saw in the clip, the intro that I did, it works. That was just the trenches dug, and you saw them running. You can hear the water running through this system, but it's not aesthetically pleasing, so we need to pretty it up a little bit. And so that's why we backfill these trenches. Once we get the pipe system built, we backfill it, and you can sow the grass back. So the components for this system, you can get at Lowe's and Home Depot. When you go to the quarry or buy the rock, you want 3/4 inch rock. It's a number 56 stone if you get it from a quarry, and it's about 3/4 inches in diameter of the stone. That is what we're doing. Check out this video. So let me give you a quick update where we stand. So this is where I ended the pipe. I've got a little bit more to go. It's probably about 40 feet. And then I will have all the drains in. As you recall, I put in, let's see if I can get a shot of this. I put in 2 of the chevrons, as I call them, over here, and then connected to this long drain. I've got a drain there to collect the rainwater that comes down on the surface, and of course that's got to be cut to grade. It's just in there for now. This is the main trunk line, and it runs down here where I'm going to run this down to the street. And that was a big job, biggest home improvement job that I've ever tackled. Here are the downspouts. I looked and looked and looked, tried to come up with some way that was aesthetically pleasing to run the downspouts into our system in the ground. As you recall, we ran a Y pipe over here to this trench, and we were at Lowe's, and this is a 4-to-3 adapter sitting on top of the pipe. Now this joint, other than the silicone that I sealed it with, is not glued. So weed eat, hit it with the mower, bust it, whatever. Of course it's Schedule 40 PVC, not thin wall, so it should take a lot of abuse. But it's not glued, so I can take downspout off, pop that loose, and replace it without too much trouble. And over here, this is going to be flower bed right here. I'm going to continue this on around, and this is a 4-to-3 reducer, very low profile. And if I didn't already have that pipe in the ground over there, I would have used one of those over there. So there it is, all caulked up and in the ground. And that's our update. 90% of the outside work is done. It won't take an hour or two to finish this trench. And then we're going to be done with this project. And I had the sock pipe all laid out. Then I realized that whatever machine I could get to dig a 8-inch wide hole, I couldn't haul on my truck. So ended up using a ditch witch and digging it out by hand. So you saw it on the drawing. This trench, which is still currently holding water, I'm using to pull all the water that comes off this slope out of the yard. And this is all graded down here. It's going to go into a T-pipe right here. Ignore this, that was just to plug it. Keep this mud that washes down from building up. And I've got one line that goes right up here, and that's to catch the water from this slope up here. And I added a second line just in case. And these are all buried, and or mostly buried. And then they come in from this T into this main trunk, which goes down here to what I call the chevrons. One runs this way and the other runs that way. And I noticed something the last rain we had. This trench is still running water around that pipe. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more of this corrugated pipe and gravel. Here I'm going to replace this section of PVC and see if I can't collect even more water. Let me show you briefly how we're going to connect these pipes when I replace the PVC. The first way is with a coupler. Now this coupler is actually designed to couple two pieces of corrugated pipe, but 4-inch PVC will fit inside there. It's not a real tight connection, so I always silicone it. The other end of it is going to go on this PVC, and this thing has teeth in it. Hope you can see that. They grab onto the corrugated sections of the PVC. I said I was going to use silicone to seal the inside of this thing. Don't be bashful with it. Let's go on and get some on there. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. You can take a piece of corrugated and split it. This stuff cuts like butter. Any kind of blade will do. And you take one end and stick it in there, and then take the other end and stick it in there. Push these two pieces together, and there's you a homemade corrugated pipe joint. So these are galvanized gutter screws. I'm going to use these to pin these pieces of pipe together, the PVC to the ABS. Well, that's probably PVC too. Anyway, I'm going to glue it and screw it. And so here's a view from front of the house. There's our trench that comes down through here, and it turns out right here, and I put a mesh over it, and that's where the water comes out. And I was going to run it all the way to the road, but then I realized that that's a really good depression for this to run in. So I was just trimming the grass back that had grown out onto the driveway out to here, and it left a really nice depression there to carry this water down into the street. So that's the end of the line. Like I said on the video, this was a big job. It's the biggest DIY project I've taken on. The cost was, like I said earlier, between $300 and $500 just for the materials. But if I had had someone do this, we're talking, I don't know, $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 maybe, because this is very, very labor intensive, and labor is expensive. So if you have any questions about this project, just post them down below. And I highly recommend, again, watching Chuck's videos over at Apple Drain. I watch some other videos too, but I like what Chuck does, why he does it, and how he does it. So don't forget to check out the third episode in this series. We've talked about ways to attack this water issue from the outside of the house. There are some things you can do on the inside, and I'm going to show you those and show you what I use to do it. And we found something while we were digging in the backyard. I'm going to wait till the end of this series, 4 videos, before I show you that, but it explains a lot. So why even go to all this trouble? A house is a huge investment, and we need to protect that investment. And enough water will destroy a home and the property. That's why it's important to get this stuff fixed before it becomes a very expensive proposition. So, did all this make a difference? I ain't saying. You gotta watch the last episode. I hate to do that to you, but I'm going to. Episode 4 is where we're going to talk about the results of all this. So stay tuned. The next episode should be out in a week or 2, and we'll see you then. As always, thanks for watching. God bless. And we'll see you later.